Okay, so we're
cut this. Cutting this out.
This will not be.
Welcome back to the Table Talks podcast, where we take our in-class conversations to the mic and unpack the topics that everyone is dying to talk about. From celebrity gossip to new movies and shows, today we are debriefing this summer's top pop culture moments. I'm Gabby.
I'm Eliana.
I'm Molly.
I'm Sophia.
And I'm Franni.
And after so much happened in pop culture this summer, we really wanted to take a minute before the summer gets too far away and we get into the rest of the school year talking about all the pop culture stuff that's happened this summer, because there's been so much kind of content, celebrity drama, all that kind of stuff.
And the first thing we wanted to talk about is the Barbie movie. I'm sure most people have seen it by now, I think. This movie has made such a big impact, I think. And it really was surprising, everything about this movie. When I walked into the movie, I didn't expect it to be this emotional journey about, like, being a woman. And it kind of was. I expected it to be, like, kids, fun little movie for entertainment, and that's really not what it was. I ended up crying. But I think this was an amazing movie.
Yeah, I agree. I think I totally didn't think it was going to be like that. I didn't think it was going to be so deep and honestly so feminist. Like Molly said, I really just thought it was going to be a fun kind of brainless kid movie, and it so wasn't. But it was such a pleasant surprise, and I honestly thought it was really funny and really entertaining as well. It was just really, really fun to watch.
I agree. I think also sometimes when people think of Barbie, they feel like it kind of has been in history harmful to women in terms of stereotypes and especially in terms of body and what a woman's supposed to look like and everything like that. And but on the other hand, it's Barbie has had all these jobs and it shows all the things that women can do. So I think it was really interesting and kind of needed that the movie addressed the fact that the fact that Mattel made the movie. I think people would think that they would just talk about Barbie in this kind of perfect way in terms of the history of Barbie and everything, but I think addressing the fact that there has been problematic parts of Barbie and she was playing quote unquote stereotypical Barbie, and the fact that they even exist in the first place. And so I think it was really interesting how self-aware the movie was, which is something I also wasn't expecting.
I think that it was so feminist and so self-aware in that sense, because it wasn't just Mattel doing it. They really Margot Robbie really played a huge role in making the movie. And I think that that's where all the female energy was coming
and
from.
Greta Gerwig.
Because it wasn't just the company, it was Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie. It was their taste on it and their spin on it. So yeah.
I also the soundtrack was so good.
I'm Just Ken is permanently added to my playlist.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ryan Gosling. Love him.
He ate that whole movie. I thought everything in the movie was just really well done. From the graphics, I liked how it was it was how a playhouse worked, where the house wasn't didn't have the traditional walls and stuff, but it was so accurate to a playhouse. All the acting, I feel everyone was cast perfectly. Just the dialogue, the music, everything. I think it was all was so cohesive, and it was just really good.
I also really liked how funny the movie was. Given that there are some serious topics addressed in the movie, I think it really balanced some serious moments and also funny and comedic ones really well.
Yeah.
No, it kind of just brought everything together, because sometimes you were crying because how much you can relate to something, but at the same time then they say a funny joke at the same time, and I feel it just brought the whole movie together.
Yeah. I agree. I also one last thing just to say in terms of not the movie itself, but kind of the culture around it. I thought it was really kind of cool to see sort of I guess what happened with the Minion movie, but people going to the theaters, dressing up, going with their friends, and I think it just became such a community building thing, both with the people that you went to the movie with, and also just online discourse, and knowing that as you were in the theater dressed in all pink, so were people on the other side of the country. I feel it was just a really uniting thing this summer for the female community and everybody.
I agree. And I also think that the little trend on TikTok, the girlhood trend, was so cute, where everyone made a compilation of core memories from when they were young and growing up as a girl. I think that was really sweet and just built a sense of community around the movie.
Agreed.
The movie had such a huge impact on girls all over the world. It was crazy, the impact that it had. It truly changed a lot of things with movies and with people across the world that Mattel, like, I'm sure is going to continue making, like, movies like this.
Yeah.
Because of, like, how huge this was.
Yeah.
And I'm sure more would be the same way.
I heard a rumor that they actually are set to make, like, a Polly Pocket movie and other similar movies. I'm not sure if this is true, but I did hear that.
Yeah.
And, like, Matchbox cars, I think.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Like, all their different toys. So I just hope that they're able to, like, stay with how good Barbie was and that it doesn't, like, become so oversaturated with these movies that, like, we get tired of them. And, like, this one, like, it was kind of obvious who the audience was, but like once you get to like who's the audience for the Matchbox car movie?
Yeah.
Like is it like kids who played with Matchbox cars? Is it kids now? So I just feel like I hope that they're able to stay on this high and it doesn't kind of like fall off from like just it feeling like a money grab.
I definitely agree. All right, let's pivot a little to the elephant in the room, the summer I turned pretty season 2. Okay, before we get into it, everyone's general consensus, 1 to 5 stars. What do you guys think?
For this season specifically?
Yeah, season 2.
I say 4 stars.
I'm going to go 3.
I was going to go 4.
I think the acting is very subpar. But this, like,
okay, true.
Like the show itself.
For sure.
Like my personal enjoyment, like a 3 or a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say a 4 too.
Yeah. So, sorry, go.
Oh, sorry. So the one thing about this is I feel like the plot moved really slowly in it. I thought it was really interesting, everything that happened in this season, but the timeline of it just didn't make sense to me.
I thought also like the house being sold just in the end kind of proved really insignificant, and they harped on that so much.
Yeah, like there were 4 episodes, not even 4. There were like 6 episodes of build up about like, oh no, we're selling the house, and then within 20 minutes the solution was found.
I really liked it. I think like the show to me has always been sort of like a mindless summer show that you can kind of go into, and obviously there were some deeper topics discussed this time, grief and things like that, but I do think to me it's always been like just something that, you know, I get invested in, but not because it's really good, just because it's fun to get invested. And so to me, I didn't really mind that the plot was slow or the acting wasn't the best, because I just like the characters. Maybe it's because I also read the books, but like I think just the characters themselves and like so the storyline almost doesn't matter as much to me, and just like having the episodes to watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the same thing because I also read the books and I loved them personally. And Jenny Holland too, because I read Tall Boys Love before and watched those movies. But I was gonna say I just like watching it because it brought the book to life. And even though like all the details aren't the same, and obviously the acting and just obviously there's always stuff to fix, and it's kind of just like cringy sometimes. But personally, I just like seeing the characters brought to life and just watching the whole thing on screen.
And I honestly did like the slight departure from the book, how there were some differences, because it kind of makes it unique. Like I read the books too, and I liked not knowing exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah, but in terms of differences from the books, what do you guys think of the new characters that were introduced?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. I thought Sky was like, her character was just insignificant, and like she was just kind of like there, like it felt kind of miscellaneous. I don't know.
I think that they were trying to do something in a sense of they were trying to bring in like a non-binary character, and of course like inclusion is great, and we should it should be included in how they make like Jeremiah bisexual and that whole kind of thing, but they didn't, like, I feel like they did not execute it properly with Sky. Like they kind of just made them like annoying and like on the side, and when they should have it feels almost out of place when it should feel more normalized if they want to introduce something like that.
I agree completely. I think there was one line where they corrected Jeremiah on the pronoun use, and then after that it felt very much like the boys and the girls. Like it was Jeremiah and Conrad and, oh my god, what's the brother's name? Steven. And then it was Sky and Taylor and Belly. Yeah. And like if you want to include a non-binary character for the sake of this character is important to the show, this character like kind of just not diversity for the sake of diversity. And I think in order to do that, you can't have them like constantly be walking in groups of 3. Yeah. And like, you know, when they talk about first kiss, like it's the girls and the boys. Yeah. I just feel like if you really want to have a non-binary character, which I think is great, you can't just do it in one sentence, and it actually has to be throughout the entire show that you actually have that happen, and not just have them be like a quote unquote like part of the girls, but just with they them pronouns. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
Because they definitely played a lot on gender roles in this season, and then that just kind of like overshadowed the fact that Sky was like non-binary. But a big thing that happened this season was everyone started saying that Belly was like really problematic. What do you guys think about that?
She's very problematic. And even in the books, I did not like her, to be honest with you. And also, like, why are you messing with two brothers who just lost their mom? Like, it was a month ago. Like, people don't get that because they just lost Susanna. It was like a month before. And then the entire season takes place off of 1 week. Like, it's just one singular week.
Also, like, make up your mind. Like, I'm indecisive too, but I'm not that indecisive.
Right? So real. No, I can't. It was too much with the back and forth, and then she was like we all know she's in love with Conrad. Like, we all know it, and like she's just like playing with Jeremiah. It's like annoying at this point. I feel like
she sees Jeremiah as an option. I personally am team Jeremiah because I like him better than Conrad, but I think like I'm so against Belly and everything that she does because I think that she just sees Jeremiah as, okay, well, I can't have Conrad because he's emotionally unavailable, so I'm just gonna go for Jeremiah. And that is really unfair.
Yeah.
And then when Conrad's ready to come back, she's all for Jeremiah, and it's just she needs to sit down and she needs to reflect and she needs to realize
therapy maybe.
They all need therapy. Every single character in that show needs therapy.
So real. So
honestly, I'm not team Jeremiah or team Conrad. I'm just team anti-Belly.
I agree with that statement.
So before we switch up into like, you know, celebrity pop culture and whatnot, very general, what do we forecast for the 3rd season?
Well, I know what happened because of the books, so.
Not you.
Me too. I won't spoil anything, but I do think I feel like there's the plot of the 3rd movie. The plot of the 3rd season is going to be really, really different than the 2nd season, which was really different than the 1st. And I feel like it's interesting how I feel like in most shows, like the seasons kind of follow a similar plot. Like you would think it would be, you know, one summer and then the next summer and then the next summer. But I think it's interesting, like the 1st season was the 1st summer, the 2nd season is this 1 week, and then the 3rd season is this whole kind of mess that's going on.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of keeps your interest where it's not just like watching them do another summer. I think it's a good way to switch it up a little bit and see them. Like this year we got to see Belly in school for a minute, like being able to see them in different experiences. We saw Conrad at college. So I think that kind of is exciting to be able to see them in yet another light in the 3rd season. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see how they switch up the 3rd season from the 3rd book.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's super interesting. So anyway, this past summer as well, Lizzo's former dancers are actually suing her. They said she created like a very hostile work environment. She made them do some like inappropriate things, and she overall made them like really uncomfortable working for her. And I think the most shocking thing was Lizzo was actually body shaming these dancers, which directly contradicts like her whole message.
Yeah, and it kind of just goes to show that what people appear to be to the media isn't necessarily who they are. Like her whole message has always been body positivity, and now that there are allegations against that, it's kind of interesting to see.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't like follow or like listen to Lizzo very much, but I'm very followed up with Harry Styles, and thinking about the fact that the two of them were very good friends. They were very publicly good friends, always posting together and, you know, even performing together. It really makes you reflect because it makes you think like, does he or the other people that she associates with, do they know this or was she being fake to them as well?
Right. What I think is really interesting is like, obviously these are accusations. I'm gonna operate on the idea that they're true for right now. Yeah. She is denying them, but I think it's interesting. I think a lot of times when something like this happens with a public figure, like other celebrities come out and say, no, like I had great experiences working with them, or like, but the fact that none of that has happened, there's been not a single peep that I've seen of anyone kind of vouching for Lizzo. And obviously it's kind of hard to vouch for her right now, but like if there were people who had real stories of working with her in a safe and healthy environment, I think they may have come out. Maybe we'll see that more when she's in court. But I think the fact that there hasn't been any of that is really telling.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And along the same line of celebrity pop culture, Angus Cloud from Euphoria also passed away this summer. Do we know the reason? Was it drugs?
He was a drug addict, and I think that it was drugs, but his father had died very close to his death, and I know that Angus's mother had reported that it wasn't a suicide, but many believe that it was an accidental overdose because he was trying to deal with his grief.
Yeah, that's so
which
sad.
is devastating.
It's so
It is.
sad. And like I know a lot of his like coworkers and like stars that worked with him said he was just like the best person to work with. Everyone loved him. Like there was not one negative thing said about him. And not only that, but this is definitely going to change the entire trajectory of like Euphoria. And I wonder how the show is going to go about like kind of commemorating him like respectfully, like if you will, because
it's not like they can say he moved away. Like they need to figure out a way to really honor his memory in the show.
Yeah,
I feel like they're gonna do something similar as they did with Glee when Finn passed away, when they didn't even really say like a reason why he died in the show, but they had the whole memorial and the whole like service and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
So for our final pop culture thing, we wanted to talk a little bit about something that's happened a little bit more recently, like towards the end of the summer into kind of now. And this is Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner's divorce. It was it seems very messy. They were hinting at it. There were a lot of rumors, and then they officially made a statement. So
do you guys know, I mean, like you said it was messy. What is that necessary? Like, I don't know much about it. What does it mean, like messy?
it seems like a lot of the stuff coming out of it is like from Joe's camp.
I agree.
There's like a lot of stuff hinting at the fact that like Sophie was partying and like not like Joe has the kids even though he's on tour. On the one hand, I feel like we're not owed any of this information. Like it's a really interesting idea of privacy because at first it seemed like they were kind of hiding this. Like there were rumors about it, but then she showed up at a show and he like posted a picture on Instagram, like his ring was like front and center. But then they came out with this statement. I think they were kind of forced to come out with the statement. Yeah. And I think it kind of shows in a way like the celebrities that are kind of forced to share parts of their lives that, you know, this has nothing to do with his music. They have 2 kids. Like, I'm sure this is kind of a very difficult time for them. And so I feel like they shouldn't be forced to share that with the public.
Yeah.
And the fact that a lot of people online were pressuring them to come out and make statements when, like, you have to think about how it affects their families, their kids, and them. Yeah.
I completely agree with the fact that I feel like I personally even know too much about celebrities' relationships and the things that happen with them. Like, we know exactly when they break up. We know the reasons why. And it's almost unfair because if it was me or if it was someone in my family, like I wouldn't want to be put on blast in that way, especially with the millions of people following them.
Especially because this divorce doesn't necessarily seem like scandalous. It just kind of seems like they're all kind of like dealing with their own issues right now. And I think that's like more personal than like a cheating, you know, like situation or like an affair or something. So I think that like the fact that this is so publicized is definitely really sad. And also for like kids who like have to deal with probably comments made to them in public. Oh, like, oh, your parents are fighting, your mom's absent. Like that's really like unfortunate and sad. Yeah.
But even with the cheating, like we saw this with the Ariana Grande thing, like we just know so much about celebrities and their like intimate relationships. And I feel like it's really crazy, but now it's just like such the norm. And I don't know if there's any way for us to go back from that. Like people just feel so entitled to the information about who's dating who and did this relationship overlap and why did they break up, and it's just kind of crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, this has been an episode of the Table Talks podcast. Stay tuned on the Wessex Wire on Instagram and the Wessex Wire on YouTube, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.